Speaking of marriage, right? Here's what a profound percentage: 68% of relationship turmoil are reoccurring. What does that necessarily mean? It means that the problem that you go through, they're kind of recurring, obviously, but it's not the problem, the issue. It's how you learn how to deal with the problem. That's what necessarily makes the difference in terms of the outcome. They often say it's not the situation, how you perceive the situation. And a relationship is no different. Once we learn how to navigate our issues, there's certain things to say, you know what, we don't accord that much importance to it. It's not saying it's not important. We just don't accord that much of importance to it because you know the degree of importance is very low. Start is a fundamental. Any sprinter will tell you the most critical part in their race is what? Is the start. Why? Because when the gun goes off, if they're not prepared adequately, it's an uphill battle. So it's understanding your marriage is no different. Your relationship is no different. Understanding how you start can't necessarily determine the outcome. I'm not negating the fact that you cannot overcome certain hurdles. What I'm saying is if you have the opportunity to actually have a right start, make sure you actually apply it because it's going to be much easier for you down the road. All right. First, be real. Be yourself. As they say, don't try to be someone else because everyone else is taken. But most importantly is at some point or another, I know we try to put our best behaviors forward to try to entice and attract the opposite sex or same sex for some people. But that facade that we put in, at some point or another, it's going to dissipate and the true person is going to come out. So why don't you try to be yourself from the get-go? And if it doesn't work out, at least you know you didn't waste 2, 3, 4, 5 years to figure out. While you be yourself, you avoid a lot of issues for you or for a potential spouse, right? How you show up. How you show up is important. Why is it how you show up is important? Because everybody comes with different baggages, whether that be different ethnic group, different background, different religious beliefs, different education, for God's sakes, even different families, right? So understanding is what you bring and what the other person brings is different. And that's what necessarily attracted you. At some point or another, that can actually also repel you. But it's understanding how you come up, what you show up with. And sometimes you come from previous relationship. We've been hurt and we bring that to the relationship as well too. So, you know what? I'm not going to do this because I've experienced that. So now you're negating the true potential or possibility of a fruitful relationship because of your previous experiences. So it's understanding you got to be ready to be with someone. You have to make sure you take care of yourself first and deal with the past issues, because otherwise it's going to come up in some shape, way, or form in that relationship. And the person will look at you and says, what's wrong with you? They don't understand that. And that's why I think often enough professional help really, really helps. Because you cannot self-diagnose your own issues. Like a physician doesn't actually practice surgery on his own body. A lawyer doesn't actually, plead his own case. There's a reason for it. And I think here's no different. It's understanding is you cannot self-diagnose your own issues. Listen. As much as communication is important, but listen, we have one mouth, 2 ears. I mean, we should listen more than we speak. But often than not, it's not the case because ego is in the forefront. So we want to actually make sure our point comes across. We're heard and we want to convey our message. But how can you really understand someone if they're not being understood? And sometimes taking a step back, just listen to what they're saying. And when I'm talking to listening, it's not only listening to with your ears, right? There's a lot of communication which is nonverbal. As I say, 90% of communication is nonverbal. What are the other cues that the person's telling you and the nonverbal communication that you're not picking up on? Know your deal breakers, right? Because if you're embarking that journey and you don't know what you don't want, anything they give you is not sufficient. You have to know what you want, but most importantly, I believe that you have to know what you don't want and what you're not willing to take. Because at some point or another, you have to be able to draw that line. And if the person doesn't understand that, that can be problematic for you, because the more you accept, the more you have a sense of resentment towards the other person. And that build-up resentment is going to blow up in the question of time. And the person doesn't necessarily understand that, because you already know what your deal breakers are. You already know where to draw the lines. So listen, is that enough? And communication of fashion that's palatable to your spouse so they can understand where you're coming from in this time, in this moment for that. Last but you're not least, be honest with yourself. You got to be honest with yourself. I mean, often than not, whether we want or not, we know the truth. But often not, we don't want to face the truth. Because again, we still willing to live in that land, unrealistic. But once you be honest with yourself, I would say you don't have to like it, but you got to be honest with you. Once you deal with it, you can move forward. You can never correct what you don't face. And if the person or whatever the issue is at hand, you're not willing to communicate it, is, as I said to you guys earlier, is you're gonna have build up resentment. And that build up resentment at some point that it needs to be excelled. And it's gonna be expressed in a way that could have been avoided, confrontational, then opposite. Right. Recognize no marriage is perfect. As I said, we all know we're not perfect, but yet we try to seek out that perfect relationship. I always believe that there's a perfect individual through the imperfection for you, but it doesn't necessarily equate to perfection. It just means it's the right fit for you. And I think we need to understand that and distinguish that, right? Marriage is not a destination, but a journey. You get married, okay, you know, I got married, it's done. No, you got married, that's when the journey started, right? Now, the uphill battle is ahead of you. Now, how do you learn how to navigate each other? How do you learn how to trust each other? And the point here is this, though, is no matter what, you guys' relationship is going to be tested, right? It's understanding that, listen, I'm here for the long run. There's no end date. Hopefully the end date is what? That do us part. But unfortunately, we live in a society right now, things, we call this the wash and wear. It's like, you're good for me today, you're not good for me tomorrow. No, the person has never been good. No one's perfect. Neither are you, neither are mine. So, but it's understanding, like, why were you good yesterday and today you're not? Yeah, we're in different states in our mind, but we need to learn how to deal with the situations. All right, you know what? Because, all right, things didn't work with Sylvie, and now you're going to move to Pamela. You are the common denominator. Understanding that what? The issues that you're going to deal with, you're going to have to deal with them with someone else.